Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and in this week's Weekend Essay podcast, Jean-Baptiste Andrieux gives his detailed account of his first year working at Money Marketing. Take it away, JB.
The 12th of April marks my first year at Money Marketing. How time flies. I still remember the first story that was assigned to me, namely a study on the money purchased an annual allowance, or MPAA. I had absolutely no idea about how I could turn around an article about a topic I knew nothing about. 1 year later, I'm still unable to accurately define what the MPAA is. The good news is that I'm not a financial advisor, so I do not need to explain it in detail to anybody, and I'm not likely to contribute £40,000 to my pension pot within a single year in the foreseeable future. I joined the industry at the strangest of times, in the midst of a pandemic, although it is not something that partly bothered me. It is in fact my first gig in journalism, which means I have no idea about how this profession used to be done prior to COVID-19. I was also entirely new to the financial services sector and to the financial world in general at the time I was hired, after successively working in the automotive and defense industries. Considering my previous experiences, nothing suggested I would write so much about ESG issues. Life is ironic at times. To be honest, I still think I was an unlikely candidate to cover the UK financial advice market. As already mentioned, I do not have any background in finance, and I have not lived for very long in the UK, 2 years in cumulate at most. As such, I'm not very familiar with British society, which can be problematic when you cover financial issues going on in this country. Optimists might say that it enables me to have an outside perspective on the financial issues Brits are facing. I would argue that it at times hinders me from perceiving problems they are confronted with when dealing with their money. There is a recent example of that kind of situation. I wrote another weekend essay a few weeks ago about the need for basic financial advice to address minor problems without necessarily resorting to the services of a financial advisor. I had this idea after encountering some difficulties as I was trying to pick the right savings account for my personal situation and finding out whether an ISA would be a better choice. I was kindly informed by a reader that the most basic financial need for the majority of the UK population is to reduce debt. I purposefully use the word inform because it is something I was not aware of. Thinking of which, it even starts at a relatively young age. Most of the British millennials I know are due to repay student debt. It is not a great way to start in life, considering that further debts would be added as they advance in life. On the other hand, I do not know anyone debt-trapped in France in my age bracket. Discovering how people in the UK manage their money and the financial issues they're confronted with is something I found very enriching at a personal level in this job. It probably tells me as much about the society than a book or an essay on cultural studies would. One of the areas Money Marketing covers I find particularly puzzling is the UK pension system. It shares very few similarities with the French or most of European pension systems in general. The destination is the same, securing incomes for retirement, but the path to get there could not differ more. I tried to compare both the UK and French pension systems in one of my first weekend essays. While I did not really give any personal view at that time, I think I formed an opinion over the past few months after regularly covering pension-related issues. Honestly, I find the UK pension system very hard to navigate. I wonder how people get by with it. Studies regularly landing in my mailbox suggest they often don't. From my understanding, the UK pension system allows more personal freedom and choice, but risk and therefore uncertainty is a price to pay. I often feel anxious about my UK pension plan. I was not really prepared to deal with it, so that I do not know where to begin. Pension is not my attributed patch, but I'm often keen to assist our in-house expert Michael Crimes. Beyond contributing to the content the publication puts out, it also serves my personal interests. While it is often confusing, it is more or less a crash course to me. That's probably one of the perks of this role. I indirectly receive a form of financial education. I have a rough idea of the do's and don'ts when it comes to money, where and how to invest, or what protection products are worth considering. It's really unfortunate that I'm not doing anything with all this. At least I'm aware of the things I do wrong with my money. One day I will sort out my finances, but that day is not today. Investment is by far the topic I dedicated the most time to. I still have plenty to learn, but I feel I understand it much more than the other areas money marketing covers. I really like the fact everyone in this industry agrees that the long-term approach is the only viable way to invest, but also extensively comments on how investments might be impacted whenever a geopolitical or economic crisis happens. Not that I'm complaining about it. It gives me things to write about and often generates fascinating conversations. I really strive to improve as an investment reporter. Certainly, I've been fumbling over the past 12 months, but I hope to qualitatively improve the investment section in my second year at money marketing. There is no guarantee I will fulfill this aspiration, but I would like to be able to highlight improvements in April 2023. One of the many things I've been guilty of over the past year is that I've often written about things that interest me rather than about issues advisors would have a like to know more about. If you've made it that far in this podcast, I would like to stress that advisors' feedback and inputs are valuable and will help me to identify the issues that matter to them. Do not hesitate to comment or to contact me directly if there is any investment-related issue you would like to raise.
Thanks, JB, for a lovely personal account. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.